Welcome back, folks, to the WCS Challenger Qualifiers for Oceania and C for Montreal. And once again, I'm Zeph, here with Maynard and Pig, the three amigos, once again. And we're going to hop into another game shortly, which is going to be Iaguz versus Fuely, following that Fuely hype train after he played Protoss. What?
Yeah, that kind of hit us for a loop there at the beginning of that broadcast. You know, we were talking about Fuely's Terran play and Pro League and that sort of thing. We're all just assuming it was going to be a TVT. And I'm like, oh, sweet, a TVT. We don't normally see those till, the end of Sunday, where it's going to be like Seether versus Hut and, maybe Azure goes deep or something like that. But nope, he's Protoss now. Pig?
Yeah.
We've literally never seen Fuely play Protoss until just now. So thoughts on his PVZ? Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough. Iaguz is good. Like, he's been shutting down a lot of Protoss players. Like, we see Iaguz versus like Pez and stuff. It's crazy. He just slaps down all the aggression. He's very safe Roach Hydra player. Who would have ever thought Iaguz playing defensive macro really well? He did it for 7 years as Terran. No surprise, he's pretty good at it with Zerg as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because Iaguz hasn't quite found the same success as with Terran, but he's really good. And last time he placed first in the WCS qualifier was Valencia 2017. And since then, he's had another couple of top 8. So he's still really consistent, really solid, but he's not as dominant. However, I feel like every time we see him, he's got that extra evolution on his Zerg play. He's getting there. ZVZ is no longer his Achilles heel, I don't think. And I do have a lot of faith in his ZVP as well. And Fuely, like you said, he's kind of randomly become Protoss. I peeped his illegal lack, and he's played it in like one other tournament. And obviously he's doing pretty good with it. In his stats, he had taken a game off Pig Jr., who we spoke about at length earlier, about how good he is. So maybe we'll be pleasantly surprised. I don't know. It's so hard when he's such an unknown quantity.
I think we've seen, taking a game of Pig Jr., taking a series off Ranamark. He's taking a series off his former race, and I think it's impressive, and he's playing well. But for what we've seen there is we didn't see him in a position where there was the standard, okay, I'm there, I'm Protoss, I'm on the back foot, there's a drop here, there's a drop here, there's a Liberator, I'm defending, I'm cleaning up a push. It was very much, I'm in control. I've got this big horde of zealots, I got this scary Warp Prism and Storm running around the map, and I think it's easier to control things when you're in charge and you're large, you're in charge. It's harder to do that against Zerg in general. I think you need to be interacting a lot more. A player like Iaguz is going to be doing drops, or he's going to be counterattacking with Roach Hydra everywhere if it gets to the mid game. So outside of a very aggressive opening or tricky opening, getting a big edge for Fuely, I think Fuely's going to really kind of have to show his mettle here. I mean, maybe I'm doubting him, but I don't think he's going to be able to take down Iaguz. I'd love to be surprised. As I said at the start of today, I'm like, I want there to be a new person who just comes in and we're like, yeah, this guy's been around, they're pretty good, and then they just destroy everybody. I want that story, but I don't think it's going to happen. And I think Iaguz is just going to be rock solid, as he always is.
Yeah, I have to echo that mentality there. It's like Iaguz is the overwhelming favorite for me. Maybe Fuely is just randomly a Protoss god and we all look really foolish in a few minutes' time, but I am certainly favoring Iaguz quite heavily here. He is damn good at Zerg. Not quite there as he was with Terran, but getting close. And like Zeph even mentioned, like, he's getting better every time we see him in a tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the true measure of how good a player is with a race, especially after they switch, is how they handle things when things start to go wrong. And as Pig was just talking about, that's not what happened in the last series. He was in control. He wasn't floundering, trying to deal with some multi-prong or having had a big hit to his economy or anything. And I think that's something that Iaguz can certainly deal to him, especially as you mentioned, he's been playing Roach Hydra, which can be that very aggressive sort of style. You're in their face with Roach Hydra hit squads while you're taking a fourth, macroing up, getting that ideal army. But curious to see what Fuely's style is going to be like. We did touch on it a little bit earlier about the Age of Haas. And I have no idea if he is prone to cheekiness in his play or not.
That could be. I like that you mentioned Haas there, because I'm thinking about Roach Hydra. that's been, very popular for a little while now. And what it has used to take himself to the finals at Valencia, it was this very particular 2-gas build. He didn't take gases on his natural. He'd fully saturate his third. He'd get 3 to 4 immortals out, a couple of sentries, +1 attack, and about 400 charge zealots. And if the Zerg doesn't have banelings and they've only got roaches and hydras, it's tough to deal with 400 zealots. And even when they'd have a big enough army in one spot, his Warp Prism would sneak in the main, he'd warp in 12 zealots, and suddenly it would be chaos. When the Zerg's distracted, he'd trap the army with force fields. And this is a style that's picked up on the NA ladder since that tournament, as you would expect. Is Fuely a player who's maybe also decided to co-opt that style? As I don't think it's the most complicated to pull off. I think it really tests the Zerg's knowledge and scouting to see how they adapt. So just a bit of theory crafting about what might go down, something that has started to work its way into the meta. But we are going to be launching in to the first map. It's going to be on Catalyst, a Zerg versus Protoss. Here we go.
That's the one. You and me this time, Pig. I am ready for some StarCraft goodness right now. And we are very quickly loaded in. Let's get the hype train started in the bottom right. Spawning in the red trunks. He is fresh off a win. It is Fuely.
And of course, facing off against him in the top left-hand side in the blue, the Zerg player. It is Iaguz. Of course, both teammates here on OSC Elite. OSC, of course, are running tournaments originally down here in Australia and Southeast Asia, and now all over the world. It's the biggest kind of conglomeration and organization of online tournaments and cups that basically allow the pro players to get that weekly practice in competitive events and to start making a name for themselves. You often see a player, I mean, even a few years ago, people like Kelazur, when they were starting to make a name for themselves, Demilove, and a lot of these other guys first started out by winning these online cups run by OSC. So always good to see them now sponsoring players directly, sending them out to events and getting them out there.
Yeah, absolutely. They've certainly made a good name for themselves. And oh, what is this? Is that a forge that is building and a pylon on top of the ramp?
Ooh, the Overlord turns around. Iaguz is like, nah, no, he's not gonna react. Oh my lord, I think he thinks it's a fake out.
Oh no. Please don't do it. Guz!
Oh my lord, it's the triple pylon block, but Iaguz is just gonna go second gas. He's not going to react. Okay, he's decided, nah, I'm going to break out with Ravages. Now, okay. I think as Fuely, as long as you cancel those high ground pylons, yeah, he sees no drones. He says, that's fine. I don't need to invest that much. Is he even going to put a cannon on the high ground? So this is the parting variation, as I like to call it, where you will build a extra gateway. Excuse me. Here at the front. So that's the second gateway, remember. There's a cyber core in the wall back at home. Gases are already going down. The idea is you create a problem for the Zerg player with the cannons, and then you add Stalkers to that problem. And Stalkers, of course, one of the most nimble, maneuverable units in the early game in small numbers. Just poke in and out. You start adding shield batteries to heal them up, and you kind of just wear the Zerg down with a Stalker siege as you just build that Stalker count up. So I imagine that's what Fuely's going for here. Both gases are down now. Is starting to mine from one of them. No doubt we'll put on the other in a moment, and it's going to be non-stop Stalker production from there. So Fuely here showing a very aggressive play, something which is really awkward to stop, and I'm fascinated to see what Iaguz does, because this is something Zerg players everywhere are struggling against.
Yeah, and one of the tricky things about these cannon rushes is that there are so many variations. Some people have really finessed it as well in terms of cannon positioning and how much you commit of what and where. And it's really hard to know what to make as a Zerg. Okay, you go Ravages. Okay, you build a Spine. You know, how many queens do you need? Do you want Lings? Can you even break out of this? There's a lot of considerations, and like you said, that shield battery is making sure that Stalker really doesn't take any damage. And these Ravages are going to help an end to that, but it is a slow process to break out of this position as the Zerg.
Yeah, more and more shield batteries are on the way. The Stalker count is growing now. It is only Stalkers building from this front gateway, so even though the shield battery count is very scary, the actual damage output from Fuely is kind of terrible in terms of the Stalker up against a bunch of Ravagers in his spine. So these shield batteries, their energy is going down very quickly. The problem is they regenerate that energy. So if Iaguz can't actually break through over time, he will lose efficiency. The spine crawler's already gone down. One Ravager getting very low. Iaguz does pull it back at the last second. These Stalkers already so close to the hatchery, creating a huge problem for Iaguz. And realistically, he doesn't have a transition. It's just keep building Roaches and Ravagers and hope to survive. He doesn't have any transfuse. He's pulling back his weak units. But I don't know how he's going to possibly break out of here.
Yeah, and it's only getting worse, and Overlord's actually going to sail into this area. They draw the fire, but he does lose the Overlord, gets supply blocked, and a Roach goes down on the way back out of that area as well. And this is such a hard spot. He can't make any more units for a little bit. The Queens are hurt. The Ravagers not looking so healthy either. But he's making another 4, excuse me. So with some good biles. Oh, he snipes one. Maybe he can start whittling this down. It's just so difficult.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Iaguz is just losing out on every trade. Look at the Ravager hit points. Those are very limited, and the Stalkers are just unafraid right now. There's almost equal Stalkers to Ravagers. There's more and more batteries coming down. I mean, this almost seems like a checkmate scenario. Some nice biles do land. They are going to take out those 2 shield batteries. But I mean, that's the first little bit of damage Iaguz has done in forever. And even though the Roach Ravager count is growing here, there is still a lot of Stalkers alive. But oh, Fuely gets caught out. One Stalker does go down. A couple of Ravagers will go down in return, though. The cannon's now starting to add their damage into the mix. The Roach Ravager count is already falling. There's only 3 Ravagers left. I don't think this is going to work out for Iaguz. Fuely here getting huge amounts of damage done. And he's going to be adding more shield batteries, more and more. Just that energy regeneration alone is insane. The shield batteries at the front are taking some big damage, but that's 7 Stalkers, Zeph. That is ridiculous.
It's too much. I mean, the Queen can't even come forward anymore. He's going to be starving for money to make more Ravagers. Even just dancing back and forwards, he's always taking the worst trade because he can't quite engage these Stalkers. And there's just endless supply batteries, shield batteries coming up. He commits here, does manage to get a Stalker or 2, but he is suffering in his own numbers as well.
I mean, that's the problem right now. It's essentially one base versus one base. The expansion for Iaguz doing nothing here until he breaks out. The Stalkers focus firing the Ravagers very effectively. Each time they do, a Stalker does go down, but Warp Gate is finished. And Fuely is replenishing just as quickly, if not quicker than Iaguz. The army supply count was vastly in Iaguz's favor earlier, but it's not enough.
No. And we don't even get a GG on that one. He just leaves, echoing the frustration of just about every Zerg on the ladder at the moment.
Yeah.
Dealing with this style. It is so difficult to stop these cannon rushes. And I mean, Pig, you know, as the resident StarCraft 2 expert, pro coach, what are you supposed to do?
I really think once you let that get up, you're in so much trouble, because with this particular version as well, it's Gate then Forge. This is a slightly delayed cannon rush. Like, so in a way, the Protoss player isn't committing quite as much to it as with another one, but I think Fuely there got away with a very minimal investment. It was like, yeah, there's the 3 pylon wall, but he cancels 2 of those pylons. He gets it back. I think as soon as you see the first pylon go down, you can break that as Iaguz by pulling drones, breaking through that pylon wall. The moment you let it get up, it's always very frightening, because if they get a foothold on the high ground, you're just in huge trouble as the Zerg player. And with that specific style, you can't defend your ramp with spine crawlers. If you think about it, if that contain is a bit further back, like what we see Turkey Dano do a lot of the time in Nation Wars earlier this year, when this really started getting popular, and then Haas kind of course, has been doing it for years in his own style. The way Dano would do it was just further back, and you could kind of like protect your ramp because the Stalkers wouldn't have high ground vision. You could pick away at it. In this case, it's like the Stalkers, the shield batteries are next to your hatchery. Like, you have no space. You can't buy time. And because you don't have a high ground advantage there, and the way Stalkers micro against Roaches and Ravagers, it just felt like a losing scenario. So once it got up, and you're stuck on Ravager Zergling, I don't think there's anything you can do as Iaguz. I think it's just a tap-out scenario unless Fuely makes some big errors. So I definitely think the right call is pull drones immediately. The next map is going to be Lost and Found, Zeph. So this is the map where you can almost wall in cannons with a single pylon. I imagine Iaguz is going to have a drone down there, like before the probe even gets to his base, just like following the probe, blocking the spot. And this time, I'm sure he's going to pull a lot more drones to stop the cannon rush getting up.
I hope so. Because in the last game, like you said, he had the Overlord, he saw the pile go up, and he tried to call his bluff. And unfortunately, that didn't really work out. So hopefully, game number 2, he'll be like, all right, I see a strategy here. I'm going to be a bit more careful. Hopefully, he'll be more inclined to react. But, that could also work to Fuely's advantage because he just goes, well, now you're scared of a cannon rush. So I can put that fear in you nice and deep and do whatever I want, whether it's to commit to that again or just be a little cheeky and get a lead just by making him panic. But we'll see how we go in Lost and Found. Like you said, it is another one that does lend itself to quite a gross cannon rush. But hey, a win is a win, and Zergs just need to learn how to adapt and hold these things off. I mean, don't be afraid to change your builds to try and mitigate some of this. It is tough.
StarCraft, right? The aim of the game is to do everything you can to mess up your opponent and to make things awkward, uncomfortable, and basically to feel unfair. That's your goal as a StarCraft player, is you want the game to feel unfair for your opponent. And that is exactly what these guys have been doing. As we launch here into map number 2, down here in the bottom left-hand side, in the red, the Zerg player, it is Iaguz. Down 1 game here already.
And his opponent in the top right in the blue, it is Fuely. And while we await to see whether or not he's going to drop a Forgerino, big thank you to Macca's for sponsoring us once again here.
Oh, gas first. That's an interesting start here for Fuely. So, yeah, no scout as well. I love this build. So, I haven't seen this one, or paid attention too much to see this one recently, but he's going to be very fast gas mining. So, usually you're going to see a Stargate. I wouldn't mind a proxy Stargate double Adept opening, where you kind of chrono 2 Adepts, build an Oracle down in the bottom of the map, run into the main base, try and get some really nice momentum. All things considered, Fuely here is impressing me so much. I was not expecting this kind of level of play in terms of just the refinement of the builds, but also the strategic choices and the switch-ups. So far, everything's been very clean for our blue Protoss player, and it's very nice. We were saying at the start of today, there's some new Protoss faces out here putting up a fight, and it seems like Fuely, unbeknownst to us, was indeed one of those.
Yeah, both of these guys, I guess, actually made a joke in the lobby earlier that it's the battle of the Terran race traders or something along those lines, because they've both shifted away from their beloved Terran. Fuely mentioned it's been 2 months since he decided to start playing Protoss. So he's definitely had some time to finesse his play, and like you said, he is looking impressive. And if he takes Iaguz out here with his Protoss, that is definitely an upset in my books.
Absolutely. One thing that worries me a little bit for Fuely is he has a terrible wall-off. That choke point, I mean, you can fit Archons back into your main if Iaguz swaps mutas, but you're definitely not going to block that off with a Zealot or a Stalker. Zerglings will always be able to squeeze through that gap, so I do hope Fuely fixes that wall, but it is indeed a very fast Stargate, as well as Chrono Boost Adept. And I'd love to see a second Adept also get another Chrono Boost, but might just save that. Let's see, is it going to be another Chrono? No. Okay. Just going to be a single Adept to pressure. The other one's going to defend the wall for now. Still, not a bad way to open up. Iaguz, on the other hand, of course, has just gone for the standard 3-base setup. Third Queen is on the way as well. All things very straightforward for the Zerg player.
Yeah, and we'll see if he sticks with that Roach Hydra style now that he's got a more comfortable macro game, which is where Iaguz has typically excelled. Adept poking in here.
Ooh, nice little drone kill just for free. Very good damage. Yeah. Sees the worker count as well, which is what Protoss is looking for there, and realizes, okay, there's no way there's an all-in coming. You've been droning pretty hard here. And that wall in still gives me so much worry for Fuely. That Adept in the wall, there is no way she's big enough to stop Zerglings get through there. But we'll see how it goes as the game progresses. Maybe if it's like perfectly on the diagonal, you can do it, but that's like the easiest hold position to screw up. The Phoenix is going to deny scouting for now. Second gateway's down. Twilight first. And usually Twilight before Robo tells us it's going to be a Glaive Adept follow-up. And that's a very good way to punish someone who's trying to rush up into Hydralisks and skipping out on the Roaches. And so far, seems like that's what Iaguz is doing. No Baneling Nest, no Roach Warren on the way.
Yep, and he is going to start popping down some spores there, seeing the Phoenix come in. It's actually going to be an Oracle follow-up, and that just does float by his Scoutling at the potential 4th base location there. So he should be nice and ready for that. Put Queens in position. He's got a couple at the 3rd, and hopefully he can avoid too much damage from this. Mostly just an annoyance now, losing an Overlord here and there. But, oh, gotta be careful with that Spore.
Yeah. Ooh, Phoenix almost goes down. So close. But good defense by Iaguz. He's only lost 2 workers this game. And we are seeing that Glaive Adepts on the way here. So Fuely is going to be moving out to take a 3rd, but then also going to be pushing across with big Glaive Adepts pressure. A Roach Warren is actually coming down, so... And it looks like, there we go. Fuely reinforced the wall, making me very happy. I hate watching Protoss players die to just like 10 Zerglings or 30 Zerglings randomly get in the main base because the unit isn't blocking, but that's not going to be the story this time. The pylon, of course, reinforced that wall, ended up being very solid, very safe. And look at these Adepts being hidden. Iaguz has got Zerglings looking for a Prism right now. You see the patrol path to the left. They want to spot a Prism coming out of the main towards his 3rd, but he might actually miss the Adepts moving out.
Maybe.
Yeah,
He sends out 1 first, 2 keeps the other 2 on the side. He's hiding this so well. And Adepts suck to deal with as Zerg. They're so fast, they're so slippery. And Roaches, they're great, but they're actually not that speedy, even with creep, to try and chase these around. So you really need to be ready for this. You need to know it's coming and have a position such that you can sort of get between your bases as best you can and hopefully not lose too much. Goodness, that's a lot of Adepts. Let's see how much damage you can do.
You guys did catch a glimpse with the Zergling since they split up a little, so did start extra Roach production. And I mean, oh wow, Fuely commits to this.
Wow.
Is going to dive in there, starts to get a few drones, but good pull by Iaguz, and this is going to be a good defense for the Zerg player. As long as the evacuation happens on the 3rd here, let's see those drones trying to get out of there. Fuely desperately wants to get more damage. Only 6 worker kills. Has got to at least create a bit more threat with these Adepts. These Adepts need to buy more time because the first 2 Immortals aren't even out yet. And a Roach counter swing could be deadly. So Fuely just trying to buy time, has got the 3rd saturating, has got double Robo Immortal and Charge on the way. And I think should just barely be ready for this next Roach counter pressure. Iaguz right now sending a lot of Roaches across the map, but a few left at home. Blocks the Adept Shade in. Really good play here from the Zerg.
Beautifully done. That's about the cleanest Adept defense you can hope for as a Zerg. You're always going to lose some drones, but if you can make it not worth it for the Protoss, then you're going to be smiling. And like you said, Iaguz has that counterattack. Adepts dip in to try and get a bit more damage, but Iaguz has some units there to defend. There's only 3 sentries here at the 3rd base, and these probes have to evacuate.
His Oracle spotted it so early, but he wasn't watching there. Fuely was microing the Adepts and losing the sentries. Even just that is such a pain. The Immortals will come down and defend this. There's 4 Immortals out, but 2 of them are just chilling in the natural. So, this is something where Fuely had every tool needed to defend this, and I was about to take my hat off to Fuely's poise there. But an uncharacteristic screw-up from the Protoss player, and those Roaches do get a little bit of damage. It gets cleaned up in the end. It's not game over or lights out by any means, but definitely a little bit more damage than Fuely would have liked to happen. And only now does Fuely go for the Forge, a few extra gateways, and interestingly, still no Templar Archives down. So that kind of tells me with all these sentries being warped in that Fuely's just going to make Charge Zealots and Mass Immortal and maybe just go with a big meaty army. But as Hydras enter the field, Storm becomes a very important tool, and that is sorely lacking right now.
Absolutely. These are very beefy units. There's a lot of firepower. If he walks up to that 4th base, right-clicks on it with the Immortals, chances are that it can go down, even if the Zerg is there to defend. But he doesn't want to lose too much for doing that, so he's going to try and find a good position. I don't believe there's any Ravages, so Force Fields can help choke this up a little bit.
That's a tiny Zerg army, Zeph.
Yeah,
Iaguz is actually just going to run away. He's going to have to abandon. I think it's the right choice as well, because Fuely has not rebuilt Prodes after that Roach attack. Fuely only now has just taken the gases on the 3rd, so this is a very frightening attack. The only thing lacking for Fuely is a Warp Prism. And Fuely here is going to try to push him, but look at the spread from Iaguz, wanting to come in from all sides, but there's no Ravagers here to break force fields. I don't know if it even matters. The sheer angle from the Zerg coming in from all sides. 2 Immortals still sitting out of the combat to the right-hand side. They haven't quite rallied in.
Recall.
And yeah, going to have to recall out of there. I think a bit of an overextension from Fuely. I think taking the 4th would have been enough damage there.
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh no!
There's a third one! Fuely, please!
I mean, that's, Fuely's been impressing us so much. He's already up a game against Iaguz, which we never expected. But when you've only been playing Protoss for 2 months, little things like that can start to pop up in these tournament games. You just don't have the thousands of games of experience you need to be flawless under pressure. And actually, Fuely's going to come out and engage with just Zealot Hydra. Oh my lord, the Immortals crashing in on the back of these Hydras. Zealot's coming in from the right, but the reinforce from the left as well. I think Iaguz has the numbers. And there we go. All the support's gone. It's just Immortals versus Hydras. Iaguz very happy with that scenario. Jumps on top. And even as another Zealot warp in comes in, it's just a little bit too late for Fuely. Has to sap out.
Okay, Iaguz getting his revenge for the cannon rush in game number 1. Evens it up to the 1 apiece. And he looked very, very strong there. That's the Iaguz we're used to seeing, where things go his way, where he gets to macro. And Fuely just not really able to find the damage that he was looking for, especially with that initial attack.
Yeah. You know what? It's interesting because I think he could have taken the macro transition after defending that, taking out that 4th base, but I felt like Fuely got definitely very disrupted when that Roach attack ran into the 3rd. You kind of look at that and you say, like, okay, what was the plan here? Because he was kind of going for upgrades on a Forge, but his Templar Archives and his gases on his 3rd were very delayed. So he was kind of going to the next step, but he was limping his way there. And then he was diving so deep on this attack while spending all of his gas on sentries, which makes sense if you've got a Warp Prism and you're using all your gateways to warp in, but there was no Warp Prism there. And because he tried to force the issue, Iaguz with that beautiful surround, even coming from the opposite side of his own rocks and collapsing from the right as well as the left-hand side, it was just a little bit too much stuff for Iaguz in a situation where, I think if we just see Storm added in there, the Immortal count was already at 8. You go up to 12 Immortals and add Psystorm against Roach Hydra. I don't know what Iaguz's game plan is there, but I'm pretty sure it involves avoiding the Protoss army and just like base trading, because you're not going to beat that many Immortals with Psystorm. So I think even though the Adept pressure was defended well, Fuely's looking pretty tight, and going into Dreamcatcher, a rather short map, this could definitely go his way. Things are a bit worrisome for Iaguz.
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning of this series, we're like, Iaguz is really good. And Fuely is a new Protoss. I don't know. But he's actually looking amazing for someone who's been playing Protoss only 2 months. I don't even have words. This is impressive, and he could certainly advance here. I'm not as convinced that Iaguz has got a clean win here, because Fuely's making him work for it, and he's shown, he's got options. He's not just gonna fall back on a cannon rush every time.
Yeah, it's funny when it always brings up this weird thing. You think, like, how can someone be this good so quickly? But there's like a backlog of experience, which no doubt is still missing here for Fuely. So, Iaguz, I wonder how much he's going to respect Fuely as an opponent here, because one of the most respectful things you can do if you're almost afraid to fight them in a straight up game is say, you know what, you haven't been playing this race very long. You pull back like an old all-in. Something from like, they haven't played Protoss versus Zerg a year or two ago when there's like a certain Ravager all-in, which no one does anymore because people, played against it so much they figured out a perfect response. So there's like a lot of odd things, which I know Fuely won't have much experience against. Let's see if Iaguz can take it into that weird spot where his experience can shine.
Absolutely. And we are loaded in once again to the 3rd and final map between these two gentlemen on Dreamcatcher here in the top left. In the red, it is Fuely.
And his opponent down here in the bottom right-hand side, a very powerful, very defensive Zerg player in the blue. It is Iaguz. Dreamcatcher is always an interesting map. It's got a lot of weird pathways and choke points and sight blockers. There's destructible rocks that can be brought down to block off paths. or then subsequently broken down to open up paths as well. It's going to be interesting to see how this one goes. Fuely opening up with gas first once again tells us he is very keen to do a Stargate expand once more. So just wants to get out those air units as quickly as possible, have a nice smooth opening. And Iaguz going for the hatchery first here, as expected. Straightforward. The Overlord at the natural of Iaguz as well is something which is just kind of checking for cannons. It's done the full route. No pylons here.
It's on patrol, looking for all the spots, and he can breathe a little easy. I mean, last game he wasn't deterred from going hatch first and then gassing pool anyway. Especially when you come up against it a second time, you know how to tweak things a little bit to have a bit more success against it. But as it stands, Fuely playing a lot more standard. I'm keen to see what build he rolls with again. Are we going to see another Stargate? We're going to see another Twilight, and just sort of measure like how can you get a better lead against Iaguz? Because like you said, Iaguz has a bit more of that experience. And I think that's the leg up he's going to have over Fuely in this last game. So it's kind of harder to catch a player like that off guard.
Iaguz is interestingly just leaving his Overlord out front. So this is an interesting placement by Iaguz. And ooh, Twilight first goes down behind this. But with that Overlord, basically it can actually get back to the high ground in time. So the Stalker's going to push it back. Iaguz, he was watching the Overlord, immediately sends it to that little bit of high ground to the right. Now he's bringing Zerglings across. He actually doesn't need to use them to buy time, but I think he's just going to try and run past that Stalker. And he wants to see what Fuely's up to, and Fuely wants to block that, but there's no way. Zergling's just too fast, too many of them. That Zergling wants to see that Twilight Council. Is it going to see it? It sees the pylon. It's got to go north. And there we go. Iaguz with a fantastic scout. Spots that. Doesn't know about the Robo follow-up, but it's pretty much the same response either way. Faster roaches, skip the spore crawlers initially because you know it's not Stargate, and just get a good amount of ground defense as well as some detection up in case it is, of course, a DT into Archon drop. And that is the build here from Fuely. A fantastic build, still very solid. Also one which goes into some very powerful Immortal Sentry Archon all-ins afterwards. So wouldn't mind Fuely trying another aggressive approach, as that really has been the secret to his success so far.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how this goes, especially if we reach that immortal Sentry composition, because there are some wider spaces to engage in on this map, especially around the third and the fourth bases. If you can get in past those little chokes to enter, it can be a little tricky, and we've already seen Iaguz do some good surrounds on his opponent when provided with the opportunity. This Stalker just batting away that Overlord so he can't get a follow-up scout here. The Ling's going to continue poking at the front, going, all right, what are you investing into? Where's your gas going? I've already seen a little bit, but I would love a bit of confirmation just so I know if I need detection.
Yeah, doesn't really have that confirmation. Very fast charge on the way here as well, with very quick gases on the natural from Fuely. So I wonder if like a second prism might even queue up. It's no doubt going to be the standard for DTs, but they're not very quick for DTs. And the Zergling sees the prism. Oh my lord, Iaguz. He has such good vision everywhere. He spots it coming. He's got spores on the way. He's got roaches on the way. He's only just now started his lair, interestingly enough. So he's more spore crawler focused here. And actually, Iaguz's drone count is not that high. I think he's very worried about an all-in. He's going up to a fearsome roach count. Really respecting the threat of a charge zealot all-in.
Yep, and he's got a spore right here. The DT's immediately picked up into that prism as Fuely decides, nope, that is not going to be the spot that I can do some damage. Might drop him off some Archons and then come back. And hopefully he can have a bit more success there. That said, though, Iaguz has even gone so far as to dump Spine in his main. He's got a spore there as well, and one in his natural.
Yeah, Iaguz has actually got so many units out, and this will work quite well. Yeah, there's a third on the way, but I think Fuely's got 6 gateways up now. Charge is finished, so Fuely would love an opportunity to say, hey, you don't have enough units. Add a 6th Zealot warp in. to these two Archons dropping and just annihilate a few roaches, get in the drone line. But for now, it's like, okay, that's a spine. That's 5 roaches. There's more roaches. Oh, my Lord. This Zerg is well defended. And at this point, I think Fuely has to show us his flexibility. I think, drop a second Robo. Start making tons of Immortals. Get a Templar Archives. Go for Psystorm. And just try to defend. And I think as long as Fuely can defend, he's going to be facing a mass Roach player. Roaches are one of the worst units in the later stages of the game. So, if you've got a Zerg who's so overcommitted to defense, look at this. There isn't even creep spread on the map. All Iaguz really can do is a very slow transition into higher tech units or a big, gigantic Roach attack. And that's why I really think more Immortal production could just be huge here. Get the second Robo, make lots of Immortals, make some Sentries. But otherwise, it's just going to be a huge Roach max. And shades of Serral versus Stats in GSL versus the World. Like, is he just going to keep massing Roaches? Is he going to go all in on this?
Well, he's certainly going to have a meaty Roach army, and if Fuely comes up to meet him, he might actually be overwhelmed with the number of units. But he has dropped a Hydrogen, getting more gas now, so that is on the horizon. But first, he's going to have to contend with this force that Fuely's going to send at him. And the patrolling Ling there will spot it, but hasn't already. And he's actually squeezing in a few more drones right now.
Yeah, trying to go up into Hydras. I don't think he fully realized just how big this attack is. And no Ravages to break force fields again. In this angle, no Ravages could be a death sentence for Iaguz, but the force fields haven't landed yet. Where are those force fields? There we go. But actually, a lot of the Roaches did manage to slide out before the last one locked them in there. The Immortals dishing out crazy damage. There's still one more round of force fields here. Most of them gone now, but the Immortals just doing insane damage. The Archons massacring Iaguz. Is Fuely actually going to be able to break through? A big swell of Roaches coming down the right-hand side, but there's still 2 Archons to help buffer. One more Warping of Zealots will get the job done. Has Fuely got it ready? He's got the Zealots there, but only 2 managed to get in that Spore Crawl and moves forward. Iaguz desperately trying to hang on. He still has more army supply, but I think he might just barely have held. Fuely right now not doing another warp in, and I think that might actually allow this position to get overtaken. He's just going to evacuate. There we go. Picks up the Immortal and the Archon at the last second, gets them out of there. The economic damage is being done. 14 drone kills. Already is up 10 workers behind this. Is way, way up in terms of the efficiency of that engagement. And he's going to add a Forge, is going to start transitioning behind this. Iaguz is in huge trouble. The lack of Ravages against a Sentry-based army, not realizing just how many Sentries were out for Fuely. Despite all the good early game scouting, I feel like Iaguz didn't respect the transition. He didn't check exactly what Fuely was up to, and now Fuely's got 2 Prisms threatening. Zergling counterattack gets a couple of probes on the third. Roach counterattack, sorry.
Yeah, he's going to try and get a bit of damage here. 7 probes going down. Not too bad. Anything he can get to try and even the playing field a little bit here is going to help, because he's got to replenish that third base, but he's actually just pumping units, getting that range upgrade on the Hydras for the moment. So I wonder if he's just going to try and go for it and get a bit of damage done, because oh, well, there we go. He's actually going to get a +2. So yeah, really, he has to think about a 4th base if he wants to go toe-to-toe with Fuely in the later stages.
Well, so I think he's going to try and turtle it out, Zeph. But it's tough with no creep, right? The upgrade advantage is nice. I think also Iaguz is a bit lucky that Fuely hasn't gone for Storm yet, but I'm with you on this one. It's kind of like that position where you feel like you got to go all in as the Zerg, right? Surely the Protoss's power is going to outgrow yours over time, so it's scary. I definitely think the fact that we haven't seen Storm out of Fuely gives Iaguz a little bit of hope that he might have the time needed. He's going Overlord speed, so might be looking for drop harass as well, and is splitting off these little squads of Roaches. He knows buying time is the game, but guess what? Ooh, that gold base, I think it's been spotted, and Fuely's not going to let that one survive.
He kind of let him right to it, unfortunately. That would be a nice little dream, but I would have actually liked to see him take one of the lower left bases. Obviously, the gold gives him a nice kick if he can hold that, but it's closer to Fuely. Yeah. And I'm not sure he really wants to be trading units with him in a head-to-head army right now. It's just a bit much.
Absolutely.
I do like the idea of trying to do these small Roach hit squads, though. I guess they haven't really been able to find too much damage just yet. As we have a quick pause here from Iaguz, there's actually nothing blocking the natural. So perhaps he could sneak in there, but for the moment, I think Fuely's done a pretty good job at keeping him away from his mineral lanes.
Yeah, absolutely. Fuely's been, really good with those Zealot weapons reactively. He's finally got that Storm on the way as well as a 4th base. And, Immortals and Archons might not be the most amazing unit against Mass Hydra. They're still better quality overall. And when you're looking at a Protoss who is up a solid 15, 16, 17 workers, it's going to be good for Fuely. Fuely's floating a little bit of money. But there we go. The High Templar weapons, the 4th on the way. Iaguz, he's got to try to do something, but this is a map where it's very hard to break in. And on just 57 drones, no 4th base on the way, it looks like Iaguz is going to feel forced to make it or break it right now. He's got to do it, or he's just going to run out of steam. Look at the cannons and batteries on that base. 4 cannons, 3 shield batteries, and Archons, Immortals, High Templar have now got Psystorm ready and available. Iaguz is posturing. He's up 30 army supply. He's got +2 weapons about to finish. He basically just needs to evade storms and kind of eke this one out through a series of favorable engagements. That's all going to be based on his ability to position correctly. And Fuely, he's actually trying to come out in the open. Fuely's sick of dancing. He wants to just fight now. He's going to engage in the open. I think this is a decent angle for Iaguz, but the storms land everywhere.
Oh my goodness, absolute carnage on the left-hand side. There's still a lot of Hydra firepower here, so he does need to be a little bit careful with the focus firing. He can lose the buffer for those Immortals and Templar, but at the same time, he's got a little drop going off in the main, cleaning up some probes there, and Fuely does pull back from this Hydra force. He can go towards that gold base, which is so close to finishing, though. Can Iaguz actually hold on to this? There's so many Immortals there. I feel like maybe it is just not quite enough.
There's only one Psystorm. So those High Templar actually need to morph into Archons yesterday. It took a bit too long to do that. Has to recall. Iaguz holds on to the gold base for now. And with that, his hope is alive, but Zealots are in the natural. There's a redrop as well going in. That Overlord drop did manage to take out a bunch of probes in the main base. There's chaos on all sides of the map right now. And all of these High Templar not getting time to get Storm Energy. Iaguz just pushing his advantage right here, right now, but it's not a very large Hydra army. And I think if Fuely just jumps on it, he will be able to clean it up. But right now, Iaguz, the more confident player, pushing in. He knows he's got to make it happen soon, or he's not going to be able to make it happen at all. Fuely being so indecisive, with 2,000 minerals in the bank, getting pushed back here, and he's just taken so much damage before the fight even started. Fuely here, he did have a big advantage, but Iaguz so decisive, he created some chaos with the drop, and now he has pounced on Fuely in that moment of indecision. Fuely has 35 workers on his 4th base. That main base is empty of probes. There's no storm. The Immortals are just not building. There's so much money in the bank, but Fuely, he was within, so close to victory, so close. But I think now he's just frozen up. There's just nothing being built.
Iaguz just coming at him with a little bit too much. The roast drop really stung, and getting this many Hydras, the Storm is okay, but it's not enough to save him here. The last Templar with energy goes down, and the Zealots are just running from these Hydras because that is so much DPS. He's really not able to get in there and carve up enough of this army. Iaguz is going to continue with these drops as well. And he's got that gold base mining, so he is grinning right now. He's got 19,000 gas. He really just needs the mineral to keep attacking him here. Ling's in the main as well. And my goodness, Iaguz has pulled a fantastic recovery in this game.
Oh, so the Templar Archives actually was sniped by that drop, or that run by, which is what I didn't realize. I was like, why is he not remaking his Archons?
It was at the 3rd base. It died with the...
Oh, it was at the 3rd, right. So that went down. And DT is getting cleaned up everywhere. Iaguz's economy is still not great. And this is still like, Storm is up. There's still a crazy probe count, but Fuely's just taking a very long time to kind of reassign the probes to the correct bases, put workers back on gas. The 4th base still has way too many workers on it. It's got a big Zealot count up, but definitely just not quite... rebuilding the Storm and Immortal count as quickly as needed. There's still a Robo in the main, which hasn't really been producing for a while either. So Fuely's definitely struggling to regain position in this match, and Iaguz has got to be breathing a sigh of relief because, even gets a kill there, no cancel.
Yeah, he's got Fuely off his back, and he's now the one in control. He's roaming around the map like nobody's business. And he's actually getting that Lurker Den as well, moving up into Hive, so he's looking a lot better. And Fuely, with a largely Zealot army, starting to get a few more Templars with energy in the mix now, hasn't got as many options to roll around. Would maybe like to see a War Prism or something if you could try and get them in the main, because it is quite a leap between that 4th base and being back home defending. But
Yeah.
when you only have so much available to you, it's hard to make a decision on whether or not that's even going to be worth it.
Iaguz, the great hater of creep spread here, doesn't need it when he's dropping on his opponent's side of the map. Hydra's coming on the high ground and deny the mining there. His gold is under threat. 400 Zealots. My lord, Fuely loves those charge Zealots. Storms are going to come in, but the angling there, the Hydra angling is good. Oh, Iaguz does eat a bit of one there. But look at this. Every time he goes back and forwards, Fuely is losing out in these trades. Oh, my lord.
Okay.
Storms try to make up for it there, and indeed they do, but the Zealots have already worn out by Iaguz's micro in the early stages of that fight. He's still denying mining on the high ground above Fuely's fort as well.
These Templar, these Archons all going down. That Immortal's going to get sniped out as well. And that is it for Fuely's army. These probes is getting picked off at the back here. Finally, a couple of the Hydras. In fact, no, he didn't even kill any of the Hydras with that Zealot.
Yeah,
so he's going to get even more probes here.
Yeah,
And,
just trippy droppies, slow ground, high ground. Oh my lord, just going everywhere. That's brutal. Iaguz in his element now. You know, he's lucky to have survived this one.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's starting to feel good now. He's you know, doing a few hot pickups and this sort of thing. Feels like he's tearing again.
Goodness, look at that.
Gee, very good game there, and a great recovery from Iaguz.
Fantastically done. Well played to Iaguz and to Fuely as well. That was actually a really, really fun series. Fuely, so impressive. And you know what? That was still an upper bracket game, so we may even see more of Fuely later. If he's playing like that, I have no doubt that he'll do all right in that lower bracket.
Absolutely. This has been a very exciting kind of turn of events here. I'm actually really happy just looking at the bracket that we caught this series of matches, because Fuely just cleaving through run amok, taking a very quick and decisive game 1 victory versus Iaguz, and then really, really being so close in that final game there. So I definitely feel like Protoss seems to match Fuely's skill set, but maybe lacking a little bit of the experience in the later stages of that game. I mean, that's the thing, for especially as a Protoss player, as you get to those later stages where you're managing 4 or 5 bases, and you know, kept going in with warp prisms, but they kept being deflected. There was a warp prism in the south side of that, kept being spines and spores and units in position, and you could feel a sort of eagerness on Fuely's part, wanting to finish it with Mass Zealot. Iaguz blocked it, and he blocked it again, and then Fuely did kind of run out of steam just slightly there, and you know, got a bit caught off guard out on the map without enough Psystorm, and this is definitely something where when that splash damage evaporates, we saw what that Hydra count can do. And now Iaguz goes on to face Probe. So another Zerg versus Protoss there, and a very exciting match. Probe did drop a map to Blisk just before, as well as to Riz. Sorry, Blisk lost to a map to Rizé before that. But yeah, Probe versus Iaguz, really good match.
Yeah, that would be an awesome one. We may catch that one. On the other side of that part of the bracket, we have Crimson versus Demi, which would be a sick ZVZ happening. NXZ is up against Azure and Pez against Mio. So that's the round 3 of the upper bracket, looking pretty good already.
Yeah.
And heading towards those semi-finals for the upper bracket. Now, of course, we'll be dipping into lower bracket once we sort of run out of steam in the upper bracket, but so many good matches happening already. Really keen to hop into the next match.
Next one is going to be Crimson Demi as well. Yeah. So that should be really good. That should be a nice match.
Awesome ZVZ. So guys, we're going to throw to a quick break. While we do that, we're actually going to drop the stream and try and bring it back up and fix the audio desync. So please do not panic. We'll be back very, very shortly with some more StarCraft. Don't go away.